I know who killed Garrison. The words cut through the courtroom, like a blade, ringing off the wooden walls and making every spine in the room shiver. There is a moment of stunned silence. The sort of silence that's so thick it almost buzzes in your ears. Christine Brown is at the witness stand, her chest rising and falling with ragged breaths, her hands shaking as they clutch the sides of the stand. Her face is white, her eyes red-rimmed from hours of weeping, but there's a fierce new light there, a determination forged in heartbreak. Janelle gasps so loudly that everyone hears it in the room. She grasps her chest as if trying to keep herself together, tears already falling down her face. No, oh no, she breathes, her voice cracking, on the edge of being inaudible, above the shocked mutterings growing on all sides. Across the room, Robyn's face contorts in horror and terror. Her mouth opens, and for a moment, nothing emerges. Then, barely audible, shaking whisper, God, oh my God. Meri, seated only a little way behind Janelle, holds her hands over her mouth. Her eyes are huge, brimming with unshed tears. She shakes her head as though she can't believe what she is being told. This can't be happening, she whispers. Even the judge, a man famous for his stern composure and placid demeanor, leans back in his chair, his eyebrows furrowing very deeply. Mrs. Brown, he repeats slowly, his voice calm but with an undercurrent of shock. What are you stating precisely here? Christine doesn't reply to him immediately. Her eyes are fixed on one man, Kody Brown. In the other room, Kody is seated at the defense table, rigid and tense, his body nearly quivering with tension. His jaw is clenched so hard that a vein in his temple is pulsating noticeably. His fingers clutch the table edge, knuckles white as if he is holding himself in physically from blowing up. There is no breath for a single moment. The whole court hangs suspended, waiting for Christine's next sentence. The family the world knew they could love for years. The world had observed the Browns as a family unlike any other. They were complicated. Yes, one husband, 4 wives, and lots of kids. But they were still a family, held together by love. Or at least that's what audiences assumed when they watched them on television. Audiences tuned in each week to see the smiles, the family meals, the eccentric rituals, but in back of the cameras, in back of the meticulously controlled persona, cracks were developing. Cracks that had been widening for years, deep and rough. Christine was more familiar with those cracks than anyone else. She'd endured them. She'd seen the family shift from being unified, disheveled but powerful, to something chilly and fractured. This isn't simply a marriage collapsing. Christine finally speaks, her voice shaky but audible. This is not about a tragedy that had to happen. This is about my stepson, Garrison. In the truth of what actually happened to him. There is a ripple of gasps in the courtroom, this time louder. Even the judge sits up in his chair now, completely awake. Christine swallows hard, tears welling up in her eyes, but she gags herself back into control. She realizes she can't come apart at the seams now. Garrison needs to know the truth, no matter how hard it is. A silent cry for help. Christine draws in a deep, trembling breath and starts. Garrison was more than my stepson, she says, her voice growing warm with love. He was smart, he was witty, and so full of energy. He was the light that lit up every room he entered. He had aspirations, so many aspirations, and he loved his family with all his heart. Christine's fingers close around the wooden support, her knuckles whitening. But he also bore a pain that most people couldn't see. Or perhaps they just didn't want to see. She half turns, looking at Kody, whose expression is still stoic and unyielding, though his eyes dance with something more sinister. Anger, remorse, or perhaps both. For years, Christine goes on, Garrison tried to be heard, to feel loved by his father. He so desperately yearned to make Kody proud, to feel important, but repeatedly, he was pushed aside. Janelle makes a soft cry and buries her face in both hands. Christine hesitates, her own tears hovering on the edge of falling, but she forces them back. I saw it occur, she says. We all saw it. Every time he was rejected. Every time he needed his dad and his dad wasn't there, it shattered him bit by bit. The night everything changed, Christine's voice drops to a near whisper, and the room as a whole leans in to listen to her. In the weeks before he died, I saw him change, she says. He stopped laughing. He stopped coming over to the house. It was like he was disappearing slowly right before our eyes. She squeezes her eyes shut for a moment, as if it is too painful a memory to continue listening to. One evening, he approached me, she responds, her voice breaking. He seemed lost. I asked him what was wrong, and he said, "Christine, no matter what I do, Dad always pushes me away. It's like I'm invisible to him." Janelle's lip does a little leap before she can suppress the sob, and Meri turns and puts a supporting arm around her. Christine clutches the edge of the stand with such fervor it appears as though she could shatter it. He said to him that he wasn't invisible, that we loved him, that he counted. But he shook his head and spoke words. "I will never forget. It doesn't matter if you love me, Christine." He doesn't. The courtroom is silent as death, all souls within it bearing down under the sorrowful words. The unseen battle. Christine steps back, her voice steadier as anger overshadows her grief. The world knew Kody as a father of many, a leader, a man of faith. She shakes her head, tears flowing freely now. But behind closed doors, he picked favorites. He lavished some children with attention and affection, while others were left to wonder why they weren't enough. She glares straight at Kody, her eyes burning with a combination of anger and sorrow. And Garrison was one of those kids who was left wondering. Every single day, Kody's face reddens, his mouth set in a thin line, but he says nothing, not looking at her. Christine faces the judge again. "This wasn't unexpected, Your Honor." Garrison didn't wake up one morning and suddenly realize he couldn't take it anymore. This was years of hurt piling up, years of being made to feel like he didn't belong. The weight of truth. She reaches into her coat pocket and retrieves a small crumpled piece of paper. Her hands tremble as she slowly, delicately unfolds it, as if it's the most delicate thing in the world. "This," she whispers, "is Garrison's final note. The words he wrote on the night we lost him." The whole courtroom appears to lean forward as Christine reads, her voice cracking. "Dad, I tried to be strong. I tried to be what you wanted me to be. But no matter what I do, you just see me as a burden. I'm sorry I couldn't be the son you wanted." The note hangs in the air like a dark cloud. Gasps, sobs, and whispers fill the room. Janelle wails, collapsing against Meri's shoulder, while Robyn hides her face, tears streaming down her cheeks. The judge's lips press tightly together, his own eyes glistening. Christine lowers the note, clutching it to her chest. "He begged for his father's love," she says, her voice breaking completely now. But Kody turned his back on him, until there was nothing left. The final stare. Christine confronts Kody, her whole body shaking with anger and sorrow. "You might not have pulled the trigger, Kody," she spits. "But you constructed the pain that drove him to that. You tuned out his cries. You shattered him." Kody winces as though punched, but he has no words. The courtroom is a maelstrom of emotion, shouts, whispers, gasps, but Christine remains resolute. "And today," she says, her voice barely above a whisper, but firm with determination, "I will ensure the world knows precisely who is guilty of Garrison's murder." As the judge's gavel thunders, calling for a quick recess, the camera would dissolve on Christine's tear-stained face, leaving viewers shaken, shattered, and clamoring to know what next. The courtroom is abuzz with Christine's dramatic accusation. Whispers spread through the crowd like a brewing storm. "She knows who did it," someone quietly says in the back of the room. "Did she just accuse Kody?" Another exclaims. The bailiff must yell for quiet, slamming his hand on the wooden rail. "Order, order in the court." The judge, clearly disturbed by Christine's words, holds up a hand. "Mrs. Brown, please continue. But remember, this court must be guided by facts and truth. You've made a serious claim here." Christine nods slowly, wiping her tears with a crumpled tissue. Her voice cracks but carries an unwavering strength. "Your Honor, the truth is painful, but it's the only thing that can bring justice for Garrison, and peace to this family." Her gaze flashes toward Janelle, who sits shaking, holding a photo of her dead son to her chest. This isn't about a husband and wife fight, Christine declares. This is about a young man who lost faith because of the person who was meant to take care of him. The deteriorating relationship. Christine clutches the rim of the stand, her hands shaking. In the months leading up to Garrison's death, there was worse tension in our family than there ever had been, she starts, her voice steadying as she transports the court and the audience back in time. Kody was becoming more withdrawn. His attention was completely centered on Robyn and her children. Garrison, and the other children Janelle has, felt like they didn't exist. She takes a shuddering breath. I saw it with my own eyes. The pain, the rage, the confusion. They worked so hard to try and please him, to get his attention, but he never showed up for them. Christine looks over at Robyn, and Robyn drops her head, refusing to look at her. Each cancelled visit, each broken vow, it eroded Garrison's spirit. The courtroom is silent, captivated by Christine's words. Even those who came in doubting her are now leaning forward, hanging on every syllable. The tense confrontation. There was one moment I'll never forget, Christine says, her voice trembling. It was just a few weeks before Garrison's death. She closes her eyes briefly, her expression pained. Garrison arrived at the house. He was being quiet, too quiet. I asked him why he was being so quiet, and at first he did not say anything. Eventually he stared at me and said, "Christine, why does Dad hate me?" The words strike the courtroom like a clap of thunder. Gasps ring out throughout the room. Janelle cries out in a wail, shaking her entire body. Meri covers her mouth, sobbing silently, while Robyn's tears spill freely as she shakes her head, whispering, "No, no, no." Christine swallows hard, forcing herself to keep going. I told him, "Your dad doesn't hate you. He's complicated." But Garrison didn't believe me. He said, "I've tried everything, Christine. I've done everything he's asked, but nothing is ever enough." She wipes her eyes quickly, trying to stay composed. He said, "I see how he is around Robyn's kids. The hugs, the attention, the love. Why can't he look at me like that? Why can't he see me?" The room is now so still that Christine's unsteady breathing can be heard. The breaking point. Christine breathes in deeply, steadying herself. That evening was the first time I really saw how broken he was on the inside. She says quietly, "I held him while he wept. I told him he counted. His hurting counted. I pleaded with him to hold on a little longer, to let things give to change." Her tone becomes bitter. But they did not change. They only worsened. Christine's tone hardens, her grief combining with wrath. Each day afterwards, I watched him drift further away. He laughed less, joked less. It was as if a light within him was dying, and I couldn't get to him no matter how much effort I put in. She glares straight at Kody now, her eyes burning. "And you noticed it too, Kody. Don't even try to sit there and act as though you didn't see." Kody bangs his fist on the table, springing to his feet. "Enough," he bellows, his voice ringing off the walls of the courtroom. "Don't you put that on me, Christine. You don't have a clue what you're saying." The bailiff hurries forward, hand outstretched to Kody. "Sir, sit down." The judge's gavel comes down. "Mr. Brown, you will sit down this minute, or you will be taken out of this courtroom." Kody glares at Christine, his chest heaving with anger, but finally takes his seat, his face red and contorted with rage. Christine doesn't blink. Her voice trembles, but she continues. "You can scream all you want, Kody, but deep down, you know I'm right." The note that broke everyone. Christine rummages in her pocket and retrieves a small crumpled note of paper. Her hand shakes so hard, she almost lets it drop. The room gasps together. "This," she breathes, "is the note Garrison wrote." Janelle emits a strangled gasp, whispering, "No, Christine, don't." Christine turns to her, her own eyes streaming. "Janelle, I must. The world needs to know his words." The judge nods gravely. "Proceed, Mrs. Brown." Christine spreads the paper out slowly, smoothing it with shaking fingers. Her voice trembles as she reads, "Dad, I did my best. I tried to make you proud. But whatever I do, you see only me as a burden. I'm sorry I couldn't be the son you wished." The room bursts with sobs. Janelle leans against Meri, crying, "My baby, oh God, my baby." Even the judge's eyes become wet, his lips clamped tightly together. Christine holds the note to her chest and weeps openly now. He pleaded with your love, Kody. He longed only to be enough for you. She regards Kody, her voice broken and raw. And what did you do? You turned your back on him. You picked someone else over him. Again and again. Until he had nothing left. The shattered family, the courtroom, is bedlam. Tears, screams, and rage-filled whispers fill the room. The bailiff calls for order, his voice almost drowned out by the noise. Robyn leaps to her feet, tears streaming down her face. Stop it, Christine. You're twisting everything. Kody loved his son. This isn't fair. Christine whirls on her, her grief turning to rage. Loved him? She screams. Then where was he, Robyn? Where was Kody when Garrison was crying himself to sleep? Where was he when Garrison pleaded for a mere ounce of attention? Robyn steps back, weeping, unable to respond. Christine faces the judge again, her voice cracking but blazing. Your Honor, this was not a senseless tragedy. Garrison didn't just disappear. He was shoved there by years of rejection, neglect, and emotional abandonment. The judge nods gravely, evidently moved by the passionate testimony. The final blow. Christine draws her last, unsteady breath. That evening before Garrison passed away, I saw him for the last time. She speaks softly. He hugged me so tightly, tighter than ever before. He spoke and said, "Thank you for loving me, Christine. You were always there." Her voice falters. I didn't know it was goodbye. I didn't know it would be the last time I'd ever hear his voice. The courtroom is totally silent. Christine gazes at Kody with tears in her eyes. You didn't lose a son, Kody. You pushed him away. And now you want to sit here and play the victim. Kody's face distorts, his own tears finally flowing. For the first time, his bravado mask is stripped, replaced by open, gnawing guilt. Christine holds the note high for everyone to witness. This is Garrison's voice. And today, I'm making sure the world hears it. The gavel slams as the judge calls for a recess, but no one moves. The weight of Christine's words hangs in the air like a storm cloud, leaving everyone shattered and breathless. The sound of the judge's gavel echoes through the courtroom, sharp and commanding. Order, order in the court. But even as his voice cuts through the chaos, the room remains charged with raw emotion. Christine's tearful reading of Garrison's note still lingers in the air like smoke after a fire. Janelle sits slumped in her seat, sobbing uncontrollably into Meri's arms. Robyn is pacing frantically, whispering to herself, while Kody stares straight ahead, his face pale, his eyes glassy and unfocused. The judge glances from Christine to Kody, his jaw clenching. Mrs. Brown, he warns, his voice gruff and stern. These are very serious charges. You've suggested that someone in this room is guilty of Garrison's murder. I want you to be extremely specific about who you're accusing and why. Christine blots her tear-tainted face, panting as though each word costs her a portion of her soul. She clutches the witness stand for support, her knuckles showing white, and at last speaks. Your Honor, the man responsible for killing my stepson sits right there. Her shaking finger points directly at Kody. Gasps fill the courtroom. The noise is thunderous, a mass response of shock, amazement, and sorrow. Even the court reporter is still for a moment, shocked at what she has just been told. The explosion. Kody springs to his feet so hard that his chair flips backward, thudding to the floor with a big bang. How dare you? He bellows, his face flushed, veins popping on his neck. How dare you get up here and blame me for my own son's death, Christine? The bailiff steps forward, standing between the witness stand and Kody. Sir? Sit down now. Calm down. But Kody is not hearing her. His anger overflows, pouring into each and every word. You think you're so righteous, Christine. You thought you were the perfect wife, the perfect mother, and I was the bad guy. Christine scowls at him, her tears forgotten now replaced with stark resolve. I don't think it, Kody. I know it, because I was there. I saw what you did, or rather what you didn't do. The heart of the conflict. The judge bangs his gavel once more, his voice booming. Order, if either of you keeps yelling, I will empty this courtroom. Christine and Kody stop in their tracks, panting, but it is too late. The room is a powder keg, waiting to be ignited. Christine draws a deep, trembling breath, struggling to go on in a calmer voice. Your Honor, she declares, her voice choked with emotion. Kody didn't pull a trigger. He didn't hurt Garrison physically, but he killed him, bit by bit, through neglect and abandonment. She faces Kody once more, her voice escalating. You were to be his father, his guardian, and you treated him like he was disposable. Kody's fists are clenched at his sides, his face fierce. That's a lie, he growls. I adored my son. I did all I could for him. Christine moves forward, slapping her hands on the stand. Asterisk all you could, she wails. What about the birthdays you didn't attend? The nights he cried himself to bed, because you didn't arrive. The times he pleaded with you to just spend one day with him, and you skipped it to be with Robyn's family instead. Robyn gasps, her hands clasped over her mouth. Stop it, Christine, she wails, her voice breaking. This isn't being fair to Kody. Christine spins around to confront her, outrage blazing in her eyes. Fair? You want to discuss fair? Robyn, was it fair to Garrison that he had to see you and your children receive the love he never did? Was it fair that he was made to feel like an outsider in his own family? Robyn steps back, weeping. You don't understand, Christine. Kody tried. He really did. No? Christine yells, her words ringing out across the room. Trying isn't enough when a child is drowning in pain. Garrison's last words. The room is quiet once more. As Christine pulls Garrison's note back out of her pocket, she holds it aloft for all to see, her shaking hands. This, she says, her voice cracking, is evidence of what Kody's neglect did to him. The judge nods gravely. Read it again for the record, Mrs. Brown. Christine swallows hard and reads, her tears running freely. Dad, I tried to be strong. I tried to make you proud. But no matter what I do, you only see me as a burden. I'm sorry I couldn't be the son you wanted. When she is done, the note quivers in her hands like a wounded bird. The room is shaken by sobs. Janelle's cries are unfiltered and haunting as she holds on to Meri for comfort. Christine sets the note down and regards Kody. He wrote this because of you. Because you made him feel like he wasn't worth loving. Kody's face twists for the first time. His rage wavers, giving way to something much more vulnerable. Guilt. I didn't know he felt that way. Kody whimpers roughly, his voice cracking. I didn't think. Christine's voice cuts, slicing through his stammering. You didn't think, Kody. That was always the problem. The moment of truth. Christine moves closer to the railing of the witness stand, her whole body shaking. You didn't have to hurt him physically. Your words, your absence, your favoritism, those were the weapons. And every single cut, every rejection, pushed him closer to the edge. She pauses to breathe, her tone softer but even stronger. On the night he died, Garrison wasn't just fighting depression. He was fighting the belief that his own father didn't want him. And Kody, you gave him every reason to think that was true. Kody slumps back in his chair, his head in his hands. His body shudders as sobs convulse through him. For the first time, he doesn't resist. The whole courtroom is in shocked silence as the man who had displayed self-confidence and authority earlier breaks down before their very eyes. Robyn's desperate defense. Robyn gets up abruptly, her face disfigured by tears. Stop it, Christine. Please just stop. Her voice trembles as she begs. You don't know what this is doing to him. Kody loved Garrison. He's hurting too. Christine turns, a look of softness crossing her face momentarily. I know he's hurting, Robyn, but his hurt doesn't take away what he did. It doesn't bring Garrison back. Robyn shakes her head wildly, weeping louder. If you keep saying that, you're going to ruin what little is left of this family. Christine's eyes flame with purpose. No, Robyn, the truth will not ruin this family. The lies already did. The judge's warning. The judge bangs his gavel once more, his voice thundering. Enough. This court will have order, or I will have you cleared out at once. Everybody holds stock, the air thick as fog. The judge addresses Christine, his face grave. Mrs. Brown, your evidence is compelling, but this court needs precision. You've told us that Kody's behavior, or lack thereof, caused Garrison's death. Do you know, absolutely, that his actions personally caused this tragedy? Christine breathes deep, sobs racing down her cheeks. Yes, Your Honor. Absolutely. The courtroom blows up again. Gasps, wails, even cries of shock. The judge brings his gavel up high. Order! Order! At last the commotion quieted down. The crushing final blow. Christine glances back at Kody once more. Her voice falls to a whisper, but the whole room leans in to catch her words. You didn't kill him with your fists, Kody, she tells him, but you killed him with your decisions. And that's why he's dead. Kody's shoulders hunch forward as a raw sob rips through his throat. He falls forward, his head cracking onto the table with a loud thud, his body shuddering. Janelle screams, "My baby, my sweet boy." Christine weeps openly now, but her voice is strong. This isn't just my truth. This is Garrison's truth. And today, I've made sure the world finally hears it. The judge's declaration. The judge takes a long, heavy breath, clearly moved by what he's just witnessed. This court will recess for 30 minutes before proceeding, he announces, his voice trembling slightly. He slams the gavel one final time. The room explodes. Reporters furiously jotting down notes. Family members weeping. Murmurs of "Kody killed him in his heart," circulating like wildfire. Christine exits the stand, her legs trembling but her will unbroken. Passing by Janelle, she tucks Garrison's note into her hand. "He wanted you to have this," Christine whispers softly. Janelle holds the note close to her heart, collapsing into Meri's arms again. Christine steps out of the courtroom, her backbone stiff, her heart broken, but her purpose defined. The truth is finally told. The courtroom is still heavy with sorrow and tension as the judge's gavel falls, restoring order to the room. The last session had shaken everyone to their very core. Kody slumped in his seat at the defense table, his face hidden in his hands, his silent tears running down his cheeks. Christine had just left the witness stand moments before, her body shaking but her spirit unshaken. And now, all attention focused on Janelle. The judge clears his throat, his voice somber but firm. "Mrs. Janelle Brown," he says softly, "would you please come forward and take the stand?" A murmur of whispers ripples through the courtroom. Everyone is aware that this will be the moment that seals Christine's accusations or shreds them to pieces. The mothers walk. Janelle stands up slowly from her chair, assisted by Meri, who receives a warm squeeze before releasing her. She takes a step toward the stand, every step weighing with sadness, as if the air surrounding her is 1,000 pounds heavy. The whole courtroom appears to hold its breath. She reaches the stand, and has taken the oath, her hand shaking so hard the bailiff must hold her wrists steady. "I do," she whispers in answer to whether she promises to tell the truth. Her voice is almost inaudible, but the room is quiet enough to hear a pin drop. Opening words of a broken mother. The judge regards her with soft compassion. "Mrs. Brown, slow down. This is certainly really hard." Janelle nods, holding a scrunched tissue between the fingers of one hand. When she finally speaks, she sounds husky and raw. "A mother who has wept too long, and too hard. Garrison was my heart," she starts, her lower lip quivering. "He was that kind of son who would leave everything behind to assist anyone. Me, his siblings, even strangers. He possessed this smile, this gorgeous, crooked smile that could brighten a room." Her eyes brim with tears as she glances over toward the gallery, where some of Garrison's friends quietly sob. "But I saw that light, that last year fade." The first sob passes her lips, and Meri covers her face, quietly weeping along with her. He quieted down more. He withdrew more. He quit laughing like he used to. The cracks in the family. Christine's previous testimony lingers, and now Janelle starts piecing things together. "At first I thought it was just stress," Janelle explains. "He was working so hard, doing so many things. But then, I figured it wasn't stress. It was pain." She shifts to the side to address Kody, who still won't look up. "Pain from not feeling like he counted. Pain from not feeling like he belonged to this family anymore." Kody winces, as if her words are blows. Janelle's voice becomes stronger as she persists. "He was so close to his dad when he was little. They'd go camping, work on things together. Garrison looked up to him. But that relationship just fractured over time." She closes her eyes, recalling. Whenever Garrison would call and Kody would not answer. Every other holiday when Kody was somewhere else. "It wore away at my son's heart." Her hand is shaking as she wipes the tears away. "And then, when COVID came along, everything deteriorated. Kody imposed strict rules. Garrison did his best to comply. He really did, but when he questioned the rules,
when he just wanted to visit his siblings. Kody drove him further away. There is quiet in the room, punctuated by sniffles and muffled weeping. Robyn hides her face in her hands, quietly sobbing. The final days, Janelle draws breath, bracing herself for what she's about to say. The week before Garrison died, her voice cracks and she hesitates, holding on to the tissue in her hand. He came to me and said, "Mom, I don't think Dad loves me anymore." The words hang there like a verbal stab to the heart. A few of the gallery visitors gasp out loud. Janelle's face collapses.
I told him that wasn't true. I told him his dad loved him. But in my heart, I wasn't even convinced I believed it myself. Her tears flow more intensely now, wetting the tissue. That evening, he sat in the kitchen chair, staring at his phone. I asked him what he was doing, and he said, "I sent Dad a message. I need to know if he cares." She takes a pause, crying into her hands for a moment, before she goes on. He waited hours, Christine, hours, and Kody never got back to him. Kody eventually raises his head, his face white and shocked. "Janelle? I didn't see the message," he croaks. "I promise? I didn't know." But Janelle's head is shaking, her sorrow giving way to cool fury. "You didn't see it because you weren't paying attention, Kody. You never were. The night everything changed." Janelle's voice lowers to near a whisper. "The night it occurred, Garrison was alone in his room." Her breath catches, and Christine clutches Meri's hand firmly, preparing herself. "I knocked on his door to make sure he was okay, but he didn't respond. I figured that he might have been sleeping." The morning after, her words catch in her throat as a howl erupts from her mouth. Meri and Christine are both crying as Janelle struggles to go on. "The next morning, I found him, and there was nothing I could do to bring my baby back." The whole courtroom is in shambles, reporters brushing away tears, onlookers openly weeping. Even the judge drops his head for an instant, clearly touched. Janelle grips her chest as though she's keeping her heart together. The agony of that moment, no mother should ever have to go through. But worse than that is knowing that he passed away, thinking his father didn't care. She spins around to face Kody now, her tone hard and biting. "That's on you, Kody. Regardless of what excuses you spin, no matter how you spin it, you made him feel invisible." Kody's crumbling defense. Kody slowly gets up, tears streaming down his face. "Janelle, please," he pleads, his voice cracking. "I loved him. I promise you I loved him. I was just so overwhelmed. I didn't know how to deal with all of it." Janelle shakes her head, anger and sorrow mingling. Being overwhelmed doesn't justify leaving your child behind. She moves in on him, the knife edge of her words cutting. "Do you have any concept of what it's like to grasp your son's cold hand and realize he died believing he wasn't good enough?" Kody slumps back into his chair, crying hysterically. "I didn't want this," he mutters. "I didn't mean for this to occur." Christine wipes away her tears, her voice shaking but firm. "Intentions don't count, Kody. Actions do. And your actions killed him." The judge speaks. The judge's gavel comes down loudly with a crack, silencing the wails and pandemonium. "This court has heard quite enough for today," he states sternly, though his own voice is choked with emotion. "We will recess before continuing on with the closing arguments." He addresses Janelle, his face softening. "Thank you, Mrs. Brown, for your bravery. I know this was beyond imagination." Janelle weakly nods her head, too overcome by her tears to speak. The aftermath. As the courtroom begins to clear, Janelle sinks into Christine's arms. The two women hold each other, united in grief and determination. Meri kneels beside them, whispering through her own tears, "We'll get through this somehow." Meanwhile, Kody sits alone at the defense table, completely shattered, his face buried in his hands. Robyn kneels beside him, clutching his arm, but even she can't reach him now. He is a man drowning in guilt and loss, with nowhere left to hide. Reporters rush outside, cameras flashing, their voices buzzing with one headline: "Christine and Janelle Brown blame Kody for Garrison's death." Inside, Janelle stares down at Garrison's crumpled note, which she now holds close to her heart. I'm so sorry, my sweet boy, she whispers through sobs. I couldn't save you, but I swear, the world will know your truth. Christine lays a hand over Janelle's, her own eyes overflowing with tears. He knows, Janelle. He knows you loved him with all of your heart. The courtroom is still as the recess comes to a close, but the air is thick and charged, like the walls themselves are holding their breath. Reporters scurry back into place, cameras at the ready. Christine and Janelle sit side by side in front, hands clasped tightly, two wives united by pain and reality. Meri sits next to them, white-faced, tears streaming down her cheeks. Robyn grips Kody's arm desperately, repeating to him again and again, "We can make it through this. You must be strong." But Kody's eyes are hollow, his former fierce passion replaced by raw, crushing guilt. He doesn't answer, doesn't stir. He just gazes at the highly waxed wood of the defense table, immobile, as though he's already lost. The judge comes in, his black robe billowing after him, and sits down with a serious face. "This court is now in session," he declares, his voice stern but with an undercurrent of sorrow. "We will now hear closing arguments, before rendering the final decision." Christine's closing statement. Christine slowly gets up, her legs shaking under her. She takes a deep breath, strides to the middle of the courtroom, and turns around to face the judge and jury. Her voice is barely above a whisper at first, but with every passing sentence, it grows louder. "Your Honor, members of the court, this isn't merely a case of a dysfunctional family. This is the story of a young man, my stepson Garrison, who spent his whole life seeking to be seen, to be loved, to feel as though he counted." She looks in the direction of Kody, her eyes brimming with pain and insubordination. He never received that from his dad. Instead, he was greeted with neglect, favoritism, and rejection. Christine holds up Garrison's rumpled note. This note, these words are his last cry for help. He didn't want gifts. He didn't want money. He just wanted a father who cared enough to be there. Tears run down her face as she chokes. But Kody didn't be there. Not for birthdays. Not for milestones. Not when Garrison needed him most. And on the night Garrison passed away, Kody didn't even respond to his messages. The courtroom is quiet, apart from muffled tears. Even the judge's eyes are brimming with tears. Christine inhales deeply, centering herself. Kody might not have pulled the trigger, but he drew away his love, his presence, and his support. And those cut just as deeply. That is why Garrison is dead. That is why we are here today. She glares at the jury with fierce determination. "I am begging you, don't let Garrison's voice be silenced again. Let this courtroom stand for truth, for accountability, and for every child who ever felt unseen by the people who were supposed to love them most." When Christine finishes, she collapses back into her seat, sobbing into Janelle's arms as the entire courtroom sits stunned and broken. Kody's desperate plea. The judge nods solemnly. "Mr. Brown, you can now give your closing statement." For a moment Kody does not stir. It almost looks like he will refuse altogether. But then, hesitantly, he gets up, shoulders hunched, face white and smeared with tears. He staggers unsteadily to the middle of the room, stopping to catch a ragged breath. When he speaks, his voice is shaking and hoarse, so different from the authoritative patriarch he used to be. "I don't even know where to start," he says in a barely audible whisper. "I loved my son. I still love him. I made errors. God, I made so many errors, but I never gave up on him." He addresses Janelle, his voice cracking. "You know that, Janelle. You have to know that in your heart. I cared about our boy." Janelle has the tears running silently, her head shaking, her lips open, but nothing emerges. Kody scans the courtroom, packed with family, journalists, and strangers. "I wasn't perfect. I was overextended, working to maintain this family, working to be a dad to 18 children. But I did fail. I failed Garrison, and now he's dead, and nothing that I can say will ever bring him back." He goes down on his knees, crying. "I'm sorry, Garrison. I'm so sorry. I should have been there. I should have replied to that message. I should have said to you every day that you were my pride and my joy." The whole courtroom is weeping. Even Christine's eyes pity him for a second, but only for an instant. She stands and faces him squarely, her voice slicing through his tears. Your regrets can't erase the years of hurt, Kody. Garrison believed he was not loved. That's something you will bear for the rest of your life. The judge's final words. The judge clears his throat, clearly shaken but getting himself back under control. This case has been unlike any I've had to preside over. He starts, his tone grave. What we have here isn't a matter of bodily injury, but emotional injury so profound it culminated in an unimaginable atrocity. He pauses, regards Christine, Janelle, and then Kody. Though the law cannot impose traditional criminal blame in this case, it can acknowledge responsibility. And today, this court recognizes that Kody Brown's behavior, his neglect, his favoritism, and failure as a father, directly caused the emotional distress that resulted in Garrison's death. The courtroom erupts into a gasp. Christine grasps Janelle's hand, both women shaking with relief and grief. The judge speaks on, his voice heavy. This verdict is symbolic, but it is powerful. It will be a matter of public record that Garrison Brown's death was not only a tragedy of fate, but a product of a failure of a father to love and protect his child. He bangs the gavel. This court is adjourned. The echo rings like gunfire. The aftermath. The family disintegrates. The courtroom erupts in pandemonium. Reporters yelling questions. Cameras popping. People moving towards Christine and Janelle. But the Browns themselves remain frozen, stuck in their own personal tempest of sorrow and fury. Christine's face is tear-streaked, but her voice is firm as she addresses Kody. You wanted the world to see you as the perfect father, the perfect husband. Well, now they see the truth. Kody tumbles backward, his face contorting. Christine, please. I never wanted this. I never wanted any of this. Christine's voice cuts like a knife. You had years to make it right, Kody. Years to change, but you didn't. And now it's too late. Janelle's last words. Janelle approaches, her sorrow emanating from every quivering step. She regards Kody with love, pain, and irreconcilable rage. You were supposed to be his safe haven, Kody, she whispers. His hero, his rock. But instead, you became the very man who shattered him. Kody slumps into a chair, crying helplessly. Robyn holds on to him, but even she seems devastated, her face as white as alabaster, with guilt and grief. Janelle takes out Garrison's note from her pocket and reads it again for the last time, her voice cracking. Dad, I tried to be strong. I tried to make you proud. But no matter what I do, you always view me as a burden. Sorry that I couldn't be the son you needed. She gently folds the note against her heart. I will never forget your memory, Garrison, she says softly. Never. Christine puts a hand on Janelle's shoulder. We'll see to it. The final confrontation. As Christine and Janelle walk away, Kody cries out after them, his broken and desperate voice ringing through the air. Christine, Janelle, please don't turn your backs. We can heal this. We can be a family again. They pause, slowly turning back to face him. Christine's eyes burn with determination. The family you destroyed can't be rebuilt, Kody. Not when the price was our son's death. Janelle speaks up next, her voice shaking but resolute. You can't mend what you wouldn't fight for. And with that, the two women exit side by side. Their strides sure, their hearts burdened, but their voices at last heard. Kody flops onto the floor, crying out in agony, as Robyn struggles desperately to keep him upright. The cameras flash wildly, freezing the very instant the Brown family finally disintegrates.